right? And so as the tuna pin's coming up, they inform me that the Federale gunship's on its way out from Ensenada. And I'm like, well, okay, well, this is going to get interesting. And fortunately, that gas really saved me from the situation getting really bad. And so I could see the gunship coming. That's a really fast jet boat. And I can see two dudes standing on the front in bulletproof vests. And they come up on me, and I got the Coast Guard on the radio, and I got the mic keyed, and they come up on me, and they're pointing guns at me. And so I make contact with them, and they go, Capitan, be prepared to be boarded. I go, no, you're not coming on my boat. And they're standing on the foredeck, and I'm standing on front of my deck. I was actually standing back here in the cockpit. And they're going, we're coming on your boat. And I go, no, you're not coming on my boat. It's an American flag flown vessel. We're in international waters. You have no jurisdiction. You're not coming on my boat. Period. He goes, what's going to stop us? He says that to me. He goes, what's going to stop us from coming on your boat? I go, hey, listen, first of all, the Coast Guard's listening to this conversation. That's number one. I got the mic key, okay, on my little handheld here. The second thing is, if I see you, I go, do you know what a sea chest is, sir? He goes, sea chest? I go, yeah, sea chest in the engine room. You know what that is? He goes, I know what a sea chest is. If I see you trying to board a small boat and trying to come on towards my boat, I'm going to break the levers on the sea chest and I'm going to sink this boat right here, and I'll wait for the Coast Guard to come on a search and rescue case in a helicopter, and I'll go that way. And I saw him hesitate for a minute, and the second I saw that is when I knew I had their attention. And the Coast Guard was communicating to the consulate on land to try to get them to stand down from me because I was being so hostile with everybody. They knew I wasn't joking around. And so the captain on the gunboat stuck his head out. He says, hey, you're a crazy freaking gringo. You're crazy. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get you out of this tuna pen, and then we're going to board you. I go, no, you're not. You're not coming on my boat. And furthermore, if you try to come on my boat, I'm going to get physical. You need to calm down. I go, I am calm. I'm just telling you what I'm going to do. You're not coming on my boat. So they agreed to it. And so the Coast Guard is monitoring the situation still. So now here comes the tuna pen alongside, and they side tie it. And the Federales are all working together with the boat, with the seiner guys. They get most of the tuna transferred into the second pin. And I knew this is when it was going to start getting dicey. Because now I'm in control, because I have this huge catch that I'm sitting on. And I knew the second that went away was the same second they're going to try to grab, right? And so that whole situation goes that way. They take the majority of the catch and they leave. They're heading towards Ensenada. Now it's just me and the Federales. And they decide that they're going to cut this pen in half. Well, there was another seiner that came on board that was part of that whole thing to help with the situation. So they decided that they're going to cut the tuna pen and part it to get me out of it. Because you can't lift, boat's too big, it's too heavy, you can't lift it. So the only way is to cut it, part it. So here's the Federale on the tuna tube. I'm watching him, he's 50 feet from me. He's got a hacksaw. The way those tuna pens are designed, they're big 16-inch PVC tubes that are sealed, and that's the actual floating part of the tube, and then the net's underneath that holds all in. And I'm stuck, excuse me, I'm stuck in those cross pins of the nylon lines. So I start telling the Coast Guard, I said, hey, you guys need to send somebody down here to monitor the situation. The second they cut me out of there, they're going to try to board this boat. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to get hostile with them. You can decide whatever that means. I'm going to get hostile with them. This is going to be a problem. There's going to be bloodshed. Do you understand me? So, they had been doing all their investigation on me because they knew who I was, right? I lived in North County, San Diego for 35 plus years. Everybody knew, right? And so now it's about, I want to say it's probably around 11 o'clock. And the radio man in the Coast Guard says, Mr. Nichols, we're going to go ahead and launch a helicopter. We'll be on scene in 15 minutes. I go, finally, you guys are coming down here. This is going to be a problem. And they're like, okay, we'll see you in 15 minutes. Make contact with you via helicopter. All right, great. See you down here. You need to stay calm, sir. I am calm. Right? So then, here comes the helicopter. I can see them. I make contact with them. They see the Federale boat right there. The guy's cutting through it. The second they cut the tuna tube, it went like this. And it just grabbed me. It collapsed. The whole thing collapsed. My boat was completely engulfed in the tuna pit. That's right. The whole thing is collapsed, right? So now the Mexicans are jumping off the seiner. They're cutting me. I get a little bit. They open it up a little bit. And I get out just a tick. And they open it up a little bit. And I get out. But we're getting stuck in the props. They're cutting it all off. And so it took probably a solid hour of just doing that, trying to get clear of it. So now I get out of the pen. And the helicopter is circling around top. Okay, and I could see they dispatched the Coast Guard cutter, an 82-foot patrolled Coast Guard. I could see it on the horizon. So I turned a course and headed right towards that Coast Guard cutter. And as I started taking off, one of the propellers was bent from when I went over the tuna tube, and it was vibrating really bad. So I could only do like 1,000 RPMs. And I'm heading towards, I'm getting away from now the pen's maybe 100 yards behind me. Then here comes the Federales in a boarding party. They're coming up behind me. 4 of them stuffed into this little inflatable. They look like, I think Wayde says they look like. The one dude was Mr. Capitan with his hat. I remember him. He was all stern, looking at me. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. I'm looking at him going, what idiot, right? So as they're approaching the back of my Senor Hefe, the helicopter comes down out of the air and squats between me and them. They're like literally 10 feet off the water with a 50 caliber machine gun out the side and telling them to stand down, that this is an American flag flown vessel and you're not going to board her. I'm like, have a nice day! I'm flipping them off the back of the boat. The captain's hat flies off. He's all pissed. You can see they're just pissed, right? In that helicopter with its propellers, there was so much air from them swooping down, like it just pushed that freaking little inflatable. Pushed it. Like, it was crazy how it pushed it out of the way. So after I got my little licks in, because they did manage to piss me off, I was a little upset then, so I start heading towards the Coast Guard cutter, and I get up within maybe 50 yards of the Coast Guard cutter, and they're on the loud horn saying, Senor Hefe, turn that boat off now. You turn that vessel off right now and be prepared to be boarded. And I'm like, well, this is going to get interesting. So they were on my boat no less than 2 minutes. It was that fast, too. And they come up to the back of the swim stair, and they get on board. the main boarding officer and a backup with guns drawn. And they're like, "Who's Wayde Nichols?" And I go, "Me." I raise my hand. They grabbed me instantly, threw me down on the deck and handcuffed me. It held me there. They put all my crew, everybody that was fishing with me, in the salon and secured them. And they had me out there. And the boarding officer grabbed me, stood me up. The assisting boarding officer grabbed me and stood me up while I was handcuffed and pushed me right up in front of the main boarding officer. And then the main boarding officer looked at me and he goes, "Mr. Nichols, we're going to conduct a full boarding on your vessel. If your safety devices are out of date, you're going to jail. If there's anything that is wrong with this boat, we're taking your boat and you're going to jail. I'm going to try to find something. You have made a huge ruckus on this radio and on a secured station, Channel 16. You know better. You were in the Coast Guard. You were a boarding officer. You should not have done what you've done." I go, "Hey, listen, we're innocent fishermen down here. This was an accident. We didn't do it purposely. We're not criminals. Those people are the criminals. You guys don't come down here and protect us as American citizens. You're the one who's got a fucking problem. I don't care. Those are the facts." He goes, "None, I don't care." He goes, "You can argue with me all day long, okay? Your boat better be in ship shape or we're taking it and you're going to jail. Do you understand that part?" "Yeah, it's fine. Let's get it on." So after about 40 minutes,
You see,
he sat me down in the cockpit.
that's a really good.
And I knew what he was doing. I knew I was off the hook. And so they called up and agreed that I was all compliant and everything was in order. And they stood me up and told me to turn around. They took the handcuffs off me and they said, "Mr. Nichols, we came here to arrest you and take your boat. But seeing how all your documentation's in order and everything, you passed all your safety inspections, we're going to go ahead and escort you back to your slip. Will that work for you, Mr. Nichols?" "Yeah, that'll work for me just fine. We're going to shadow you to make sure, because we understand that your propeller's bent. I will be sure that you get into your slip. Is that going to satisfy this situation?" I go, "Yeah, absolutely." They're right. They start looking around. I'm like, how do you go from a 0 to a hero in such a short little conversation, right? And they did. So I left Friday night at 10 o'clock. I was back in my slip at Sunday morning. I got back around 3:30 in the morning, and I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I was just up. Did all that just happen to me? Did all that just happen? And so in that experience, I basically got away with murder. I mean, I got away with it. They could have easily taken my boat. If anybody would have been yes, and compliant, whoever that person would have been sitting in a federal prison, Mexican prison, till the insurance company settled, because I've been in them. That's why I was so scared to go back in there. And I've been thrown in a police car and taken up to the border and kicked out back into the United States. It happened. So I was a little familiar with something that I did not want to have happen to me again. I got away with it because I was familiar with the laws and how to get their attention. So now, hopefully, I don't have to tell this story over and over and over again. This will get turned into a movie and everybody will actually know the truth, because I was right in my presentation. The Coast Guard is charged with protecting us boaters, and sometimes they're very slow to do it. Whatever the reasons are that they don't do it, you cross over that border that's only 60 miles south of us, and you're on your own. To a degree, you're on your own, unless you're in the international waters. So knowing how to go about things is kind of important if you want to come home. I mean, see, that's it. That's what happened.